right, last call to please take your seats. Everyone still awake? You stretch a little? Are you sure? You awake? All right, so it's already starting out to be an amazing day, and then we're just getting started. So I am excited to introduce our next speaker, who's going to be talking about business-minded, uninterrupted. So Felecia Hatcher is a serial entrepreneur, author, and thought leader focused on global positive change. She's the CEO of Pharrell Williams Black Ambition Opportunity Fund, investing in diverse entrepreneurs with mentorship, resources, and capital. In 8 years, her efforts facilitated $100 million in funding, contracts, and capital pathways for entrepreneurs, reshaping their role in the innovative economy. Felicia's accolades include 2014 Obama White House Champion of Change, Harvard Young American Leader, Black Enterprise 2017 Tech Connect Game Changer, and Essence Magazine Tech Master. She's been featured on Today's Show, Forbes, Bloomberg, MSNBC, and Grio's 100 African Americans Making History. Co-founder of Black Tech Week and the Center for Black Innovation, she boasts a corporate background with roles in marketing in Minnesota Lynx Timberwolves and experiential marketing brand management for Sony, Nintendo, and McKee Foods. As a consultant and speaker, Felecia guides companies like Amazon, Google, and Walmart in inclusive innovation and business strategies. She's authored 5 books, including Genius Jam, and Start a Business on a Ramen Noodle Budget, empowering individuals and businesses to excel. Everyone, please welcome Felecia. We're going to need this? She's good on mic? Okay, y'all can hear me good? Yes. Good morning, everybody. We're getting ready to jump into business mindset uninterrupted. Y'all look good. Y'all look great. I swear, Black people, we never look like what we've been through. Y'all look amazing. So, anyone feel like they have a mindset problem as it comes to like their business, their side hustle, or career? Raise your hand. Or you feel pretty good. What about a skill set issue? Or a tool set issue, like you just don't feel like you have the tools? Raise your hand if it's all 3, because it can be all 3 sometimes, right? It's okay, it's okay. Safe space we've created here. And so there's business mindset, and then there's business mindset uninterrupted, right? And so this premise of like being uninterrupted kind of came into my life maybe about 2-ish years ago during the pandemic, where everything was just cray-cray, right? Like everything was all over the place. So many things were really uncertain. We knew at that time 40% of Black businesses had closed and would not reopen. And there was just a lot of turmoil and uncertainty, right? My heart always went out for the entrepreneur that finally got the courage, like bet the house, cashed in the 401k, did all the things, beat all the crazy stuff that we think will happen when you launch a business, only for 2020 to happen, and like all the crazy things to happen when they launch a business, right? But we also know that yes, 40% of businesses closed, but 60% of Black businesses survived during the worst economic downturn, and no one talks about that resiliency, that creativity, that innovation. And then the ideas that came out of it, out of necessity as well, right? We saw people launching I was about to say PPP camps. That's not what I was going to say. That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say the masks. But that happened too, right? They got real creative real fast. I meant to say y'all know what I'm talking about, the mask businesses. The mask businesses and like all these different things that we needed to survive. Hey, Jay, that we needed to survive. Oh man, okay, I'm having a moment, I'm ready. All right, all the things that we needed to survive, there was all kind of creativity that came out of that. And we know one thing about Black people and Black businesses and the power and the resiliency that we have. You know, military actually studies the resiliency of Black people to help them better arm and train their military forces. Did y'all know that? And that like the medical industry thinks that we are so strong and so magical that they don't think that we actually experience pain. Right? And so all of these things are us, and they're our truth, and they're our power. But so many things are actually affected by like the way that we think about things. I believe it was Henry Ford who said, whether you think you are right or wrong, either way you're right. Whether you think you're right, you are right. If you think that you're wrong, you know what? You are also what? Right. So much is about like our mindset. And people think that mindset is just this one singular thing. Like you just click the light switch and then all of a sudden you can do all the things. And that's actually not the case. There's about 14 different components to mindset. There's a decision to make a change, right? There's how you actually make the change. There's a succession planning of keeping that change alive. Like there's multiple mindset shifts that we need to happen. Why? Because tell me if you know how many decisions that adults make on a daily basis. Someone, this ain't school, y'all. Throw it out. Huh? What'd you say? 30, close. Huh? On a daily basis. Not a million. Goodness gracious. They wouldn't get anything done. Huh? Y'all are in the ballpark, right? So the average human being has to make and does make 30,000 different decisions every single day, 30 to 40,000. And if you are an entrepreneur, that decision making is more like 50 to 60,000 different decisions every single day. And so we think it's like big decisions, and it's actually not just the big decisions. It's the micro decisions. Do I blink or do I not blink? Do I wear this or do I not wear this? Do I cuss this person out on I-95 or not cuss this person out on I-95? Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? And so these are all decisions that we make. And so if you're not actually in tune with your body and kind of create a compass for making decisions, you end up with something called analysis paralysis. You know, you feel in your body that you should do this or you should do that, but you don't actually move and have any forward momentum because you've never calibrated your body before. And so I'm going to actually take you through that exercise of how to calibrate your body so that you make better decisions moving forward. I'm going to walk you through the Genius Income Blueprint, which are 6 steps that you can make to radically and drastically transform your business. You'll see a massive change with just one step, but if you implement any of the 6 steps, you'll see a radical change as well. And then we're going to go through what it truly means to be uninterrupted as yourself, as a human being, what that means for your life, what that means for your community, what that means for the work that you do, and then more than anything, what does that mean for wealth creation? Because we're all on a path to create wealth, right? Or just some people. Some people are like, nah, I'm good. Are y'all good? Right? I'm hungry. And you're hungry. There's food. We feed y'all today. Okay, good. Because I don't know about anyone else. Raise your hand if you want to be as wealthy as possible. Good. Because we should want that, right? That level of abundance, because one, it allows us to be uncompromising about who we want to be and what we want. And then 2, that's how you truly build legacy. And it's really interesting because when I do these presentations and I ask that question, you know, people will raise their hand like, I want to be as healthy as possible. Yes, we all know that. That's a given, right? I want to have like the best relationships possible. Yes, that's a given. But then sometimes when you ask people, do you want to be as wealthy as possible? They don't really raise their hand because there's this toxic relationship that has been built with money. And we think that if we want to be as wealthy as possible, that wealth is inherently evil, and that's not the case. Money is an energy exchange, and it can be a positive energy exchange or it can be a negative energy exchange. It's all dictated on your intentions around that. The other part of that is most times that what we've learned about money has been very toxic relationships to money, right? The predatory nature of financial institutions in Black communities makes us feel really weird about money. Our parents and what they have been taught, that like you can save your way to wealth. No, you cannot. Your money needs to be employed. You got to give your money a job. It has to be working for you. And then the other part of that is like building actual wealth and legacy for our family. And knowing that that isn't as hard as we've been told it should be. We've just been told to put your head down and work really hard, and that's not the case. There's very smart ways that make money, right? There are very smart ways to run our business. And so hopefully at the end of this session together, we'll learn and you'll learn that we don't have to be tied to depression money. We don't have to be tied to stressful money, aggravating money. Like there can be an ease and flow in how we run our businesses, how we capitalize on our intellectual property and our know-how, and then more than anything, how we build an abundant space where everybody can win. And so there's no crabs in a barrel when everybody can win and everybody can eat. And so that's it. Thank y'all. I'm done. Right. Okay. And so 2.5 years ago, I was watching this show called Lovecraft Country, and some of y'all have probably heard me tell this story. Yeah, raise your hand if you watched Lovecraft, right? That show, thank you, because it's really hard to explain to anyone who has not watched it. Jordan Peele and sci-fi, just hard as all get out to explain, but it's so good, right? And so about 2.5 years ago was also around the time where Pharrell's chief of staff asked me to come leave the work that I was doing here and come build and run Black Ambition for him, right? And so Black Ambition is an organization where we find, fund, and fuel entrepreneurs, and then we invest in them, anywhere from $15K to $1 million. And then more than anything, the money is one part, right? But the resources, the social capital, kind of almost like a rocket ship that we've built for Black and Hispanic and HBCU entrepreneurs. And so I'm telling you that because that was really, Lovecraft Country was one of the first conversations that I had with Pharrell. And I was telling him just about like, it's either episode 4 or 5, and I really need to go find which episode it is at this point because I've been telling this story for a really long time. There's 2 characters that stand out in that episode. One is Christina, who's a white woman. She has all these mystical powers. She can make things appear and disappear, like all kind of crazy stuff. But really, more than anything that you want, she can pretty kind of make it happen for you, right? And then she's sitting across from this woman named Ruby, and Ruby feels quite powerless. Ruby's beautiful and voluptuous and like just an amazing person, but she doesn't believe it in herself. And if you can't believe it, it's really hard for anyone else to believe it around you if you don't behold that belief within yourself. And so that's what was kind of happening in her character development leading up to episode 4 or 5. And so Christina turns to Ruby and she asks her this question: who are you uninterrupted? And when I heard that question, I was just like, whoa. I'd never heard that question in my entire life. Never heard it. I worked for some of the coolest companies in the world, Nintendo, Sony, the NBA. I marketed Little Debbie snack cakes at one point in time. Don't eat the oatmeal cream pies. There's no oatmeal in the oatmeal cream pies. Sorry to disappoint y'all. It's actually, if you look at the calorie take, it has more calories than the honey buns from Little Debbie's. Giving away trade secrets, but do not eat the oatmeal cream pie. Anyways, I worked for them for a little bit, traveling around the United States, actually collecting 1 million smiles for them in a marketing campaign. And so worked for some of the really cool companies, had never been asked this question. And so Tony Robbins says the quality of your questions determine the quality of your life. And so if you want a richer, bigger, more expensive, more expansive life, you have to ask yourself and the people around you richer, bigger, more expensive, and more expansive questions. And so some of us are used to asking ourselves $3 or $30 questions. What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do this morning? These are okay questions, but they don't allow you to think as big and as expansive as you actually are. They do not allow you to tap into the genius of who you are. They do not allow you to tap into the essence of who you are. And essence is at the highest level of the 4 levels of learning. There's tactics, there's strategies, there's principles, and there's essence. And so if we're not asking ourselves the higher level questions, we are not bringing higher level resources, people, and tools into our lives. And so that's why this question stuck for me so much. I'll be very honest, I could not answer that question when I heard it, so I just wrote it down. I literally looked at that question for a full week. Who am I uninterrupted? I have no idea. Who am I uninterrupted? I think it might be this. And so before we can move forward, I need you to spend the next 60 seconds trying to answer this question. who were you uninterrupted? And I'll break it down for you just a little bit, and then I'm going to start the timer. And so if nothing stood in the way of you achieving your success, what would your life look like? If at every intersection of your life, the light wasn't yellow, it was never red, it was only green, what would you build? What would you do? What would your company look like? What would your ideas look like? What would your community look like as a result of your uninterrupted life? And so 60 seconds starting now. Y'all don't look at me because that means you're not thinking about it. All right, you got about 30 more seconds, so give me a little extra time. Are, is there a clean whiteboard I can use? Yeah. All right, who needs more time? Y'all good? Okay. Does anyone want to share? Go ahead.
I wouldn't be sitting here right now with you if I was uninterrupted by COVID-19.
Oh.
My 2020 year was set.
Wow.
It was going to literally be one of the most amazing years of my career as a full-time host.
Nice, nice. So you uninterrupted is what? I think you kind of told me what an interruption is that happened for you. You said uninterrupted.
That's just it, that interruption of the journey that I was going to be on going forward throughout the whole entire year.
Okay, so I'm going to push back on you a little bit, right? Tell me what you are uninterrupted. If that did not happen, or or none of the interruptions happened in your life, what would your life look like, right? Identify, and to preface this, you can't answer this question without identifying what the interruption is, right? It's really hard to. And so thinking through the interruption is important, but then tell me what your rich, expansive life would look like if none of those interruptions existed. Beautifully successful. What does success look like to you?
Just the idea of reaching as many people that are assigned to me and alignment, because sadly, the average individual feels that success is money and big houses and big cars. And at the end of the day, it's not. Success to me is living out your dash and making sure that when your final day comes, your dash is satisfied.
Nice. I love that. I love that. Clap her up. First one. The butterfly right here.
Yeah, I'll go next. I guess uninterrupted. I'm a successful engineer who's built applications that provide, value to thousands of people that, just run in the background, and, the applications provide, the ability for me to spend time with my family and just live a, peaceful lifestyle.
Okay, I love that. Peaceful lifestyle. Build applications that have a massive impact on the world. You didn't say massive, but I added it because that's what you are, uninterrupted, right? Peaceful, and then spending as much time as possible with your family. I love that. You, right here? And tell everyone your name when you guys answer the question, please.
Sure. Hi, my name is Jarian, and I am free to discover and create. I dream of organizations, teams, and movements. I regularly change industries by my inquisitiveness. I do all this with a lightness and joy. I attract incredible people and opportunities who make this all possible.
Nice. I love that. Give him a round of applause. Give both of them a round of applause. Anyone over here? The group over here won't even make eye contact with me because they're like, don't call on me, Felecia. Right here.
Did we have to stand?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I am Christelle Renee. Who am I? Uninterrupted. I am living my wildest dreams.
Nice.
I am utilizing all of my gifts and my love of business and my gifts in music and speaking. I am wealthy and I am a resource for connection, change, and growth.
Nice. Okay, I love it. And so you're wealthy, music and speaking. What do you want to happen as a result of that?
I want to empower others as I have empowered myself and be an inspiration and an encouragement to live your wildest dreams and be who you are and know that you are worthy.
And what do you want to happen as a result of all of that?
Making the world a better place, making humans better, how we interact with one another, how we create society, just like changing the world, really, one person at a time in our own mindset.
Nice. I do want to dig deeper on that, but I know we're short for time.
Okay.
But I want you to think about what impact happens as a result of that, right? So changing the world so it does what? And for whom?
Changing the world so it's a more loving place.
Why?
Because there's so much division, and as people often say, we have much more in common than we don't. And it just makes a better world for whoever is to come and for those who are existing now.
Okay. I love it. Tell me your name again.
Christelle Renee.
Christelle Renee.
Yes.
Thank you. Give her a round of applause. Yeah. Okay.
The Terrence Uninterrupted is a Terrence that's traveling from here to South Africa, living 6 months, sharing culture, art, making sure that we are at the top of the food chain when it comes to financial literacy. So that's the Terrence Uninterrupted, one that has young people understanding and believing that college is not the end all be all, but it's an idea or an opportunity, but not the only opportunity. So that's what they're.
All right. And then what do you want to happen for them as a result of that?
I want them to be able to see wealth and abundance and be able to transcend that wealth and abundance to their next generations. So I want it to be continuous and fruitful.
Okay.
So something that continues to grow.
And when it happens, when it passes on to the next generation, what happens?
I want them to be able to acknowledge that it didn't just happen, right? One, and then I want them to be able to extend that moving forward, right? So we're building an inheritance, we're building a legacy.
Okay. All right, give them a round of applause. All right. I love it. Thank y'all for sharing. Two, do I have permission to coach y'all really quick? Yes. I have permission to coach you, okay? One, thank you for sharing because it's very brave to share what your uninterrupted life looks like. Two, when we're thinking about business mindset and what it means to be uninterrupted, changing your mindset around your business and what's possible in the global marketplace, right? Because none of us have local businesses anymore. If you sell anything online, even if it's a social post that turns into a transaction, like you now have a business that has a global audience and a global consumer base. That could be very scary and that can be a massive opportunity all at the same time, right? But to be able to tap into that audience, tap into that global potential, tap into the highest income level possible within your business, it requires you to be very specific about what you want and the impact that you want to have. I cannot stress that enough, right? And so like all the books, the gurus, I actually really blame our K through 12 and college educational system for training us to think very altruistic and very philosophical about the things that we want. So we'll say things like, I want to change the world. No dig, because we all want to change the world. But change the world for what? And change the world for whom? And if you don't define that, you'll actually never know what success turns into. Like you'll never know how to measure success, right? So changing the world so that, 1,000 students are able to know that college is a pathway or not the only pathway in order to reach wealth. But how much wealth? What does wealth look like, right? Because it's not just financial, it's health, it's relation. Like there's so many different levels of what it means to be a wealthy and well-fed person. But like you gotta put a dollar amount to that. And so even when we talk about generational wealth, which we talk about a lot in our community, well, what is the dollar amount of generational wealth? What is it? Somebody scream it out. Huh? Right? You realize that it's a different number for everyone that just shouted it out. And that's actually absolutely okay because it's your number. But you got to know what the number is because otherwise you don't know what you're tracking towards. And you'll never know when you reach success or if you're not even close and not even tracking towards it, right? And so being very specific about the things that you want and the dash of like how you're spending your time so that you can actually quantify that at the end of the day, right? If I want to help senior citizens, well, how many senior citizens do I want to help? Right? If I want to help youth, how many youth do I want to help? And there's nothing wrong with whatever number you throw out there, but you have to have a number. You could literally say, I just want to help one person. I want to change the life of one person. And you know what? That's also okay. Because if you don't know how to change the life of one person, you cannot know how to change the life of 1,000 or 1,000,000 people. But if your goal is, hey, I want to change the life of 1,000,000 people, all right, well, 1,000,000 people is my starting point, right? And then let me break that down into the steps in which I need to take in order to get there. The who, the what, I didn't write the words yet, y'all. But y'all see it. Y'all see the vision, right? The who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how. But you have to have a North Star. So what is your North Star? Because your mindset about what's possible to get there will happen much faster if you actually know what the target and the goal is. So getting very specific about who you are and what you want is extremely, extremely important. Why? Because a chaotic mind will make either poor choices or no choices at all. A chaotic mind will make either poor choices or no choice at all. And both are detrimental to the potential that you have. And so getting very clear, but by saying, putting down 1,000,000 people that you want to help is not a bad, that's your starting point. And then when you start the action of what you're doing, and you may realize, I don't want to reach 1,000,000 people. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of personalities, right? Maybe it's 10,000 people. But you'll never get to the 10,000 if you don't keep touching the board like something's there. But y'all see it, right? And so you'll never get to the iterative process of testing things out in order to see, well, this number is actually much more attainable with the resources that I have. Or these are the resources that I need to have to go from 10,000 in order to 1,000,000 people or $10,000 in order to $1,000,000. And so that's why it's so important to get very specific. The other part of this is the language in which, the other part of that is getting very specific about the stories that we tell ourselves, right? And so as entrepreneurs, as individuals, we tell ourselves a lot of I can't stories. More so than we tell ourselves a lot of I can stories. And so what are the I can't beliefs that you currently have? I want you to write those down. At least 5. Let me know if you need more time. You got paper. If you need paper, the team can get you pen if you need pens, but you got phones, you're good. Allison Bird says, do not expect results from work we have not done. So if you want a mindset shift, if you want a radical shift in your business, this is the deep work of questions that we have to answer so that we get the clarity that we need. All right, and so now that you have your list of I can't beliefs or things that you say to yourself, turn these into positive statements. So that can be, I can achieve this or I can do this when I have this. Not if, but when I have this.
I may need your help because I can't still.
Why? Talk to me.
I ain't got nothing I can't do.
Okay. All right. Is there anything that,
So I'm asking you, like, maybe you can ask me some questions to help me think of. Because maybe
Yeah.
I do have them, but I just don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Subconsciously, you gotta ask them, but you don't realize it's there.
so there's nothing that you can't do in this moment?
Like I have any, like, I can't believe I don't have any.
Yeah.
Talk to myself like that.
Okay, great. So are there any things in your, what's your business right now?
So, World Music is the name of my company.
Mhm.
We're a live music and entertainment company. We service weddings, corporate events. I have a band called Different Band.
Okay.
So we service corporate events like weddings, this was blah blah blah. Anytime you do live music, any scene.
Oh, they're trying to get you the mic.
Yes. So we I'm sorry for my voice because I did an
You were
event last
partying.
night.
It sounds like it. It's
Yeah.
okay. That's on
I was in
brand.
Naples last night. Got to go back to Naples again tonight.
Okay.
So yeah, we service, like I said, we service people's weddings and corporate events, like when people need a live band, lighting, sound, that kind of deal. So I'm in that entertainment industry.
Is there anything in your business that you should not be doing that you do?
I should not be doing. Oh, yes, not that, yes, yes, for sure, yes.
So you just
Yes,
replaced the I can't with I shouldn't be, right? Like
okay,
make that one little shift. And so what are the things and y'all please keep me on time because if we do have time, I'll take you through the genius zone, right? So that you actually identify what are the things that you currently do that are in your zones of incompetence, competence, zones of excellence, and your genius, right? And so in order to get to your genius, you got to do a process of elimination first because all of us are doing things that we don't have no business doing. We have no business doing these things, and they're actually hurting our business. They're hurting our careers, right? And so you may not have I can't statements, which is great. Like I try and stay in the pocket of my genius all the time, but there's still some times where things creep up, or like, man, I don't think I can do that, or I don't think I have the team to do that, or I don't think I have enough capital to do that. Like those things still creep up. And so if those are any of the things that you say, then write it down, right? It doesn't have to be the literal sense, but if there's anything that creeps up for you that you feel is a little bit out of reach for you, then that's something that you can put down in that box.
all right.
We all tell ourselves stories all the time about what our possibilities are and what our limitations are, right? We all want to reach abundance with the thing that we're doing, and we think that we actually create abundance. We do not create abundance as human beings. We do not create abundance as human beings. We do not create abundance as human beings. Abundance actually already exists all around us. What we do as human beings is we create the limitations. That's what we can do in our humanly power. We create the limitations. And so abundance exists. The best way to know that abundance exists, okay, hold on. Okay. Lord have mercy. I don't know what happened to the thing, but it's going down. All right, and so the best way to know that abundance all exists all around us without going like the biblical sense is go to the ocean. We live here in Miami. The ocean is right there. One, the ocean is free therapy. That's a whole other story for another time. But you go to the ocean, and here in Miami, where we are, you cannot see the other side of it. You don't see a landmass. You don't see anything. It is as far as you can humanly see with your eyes. All you see is blue. And if you ever feel like you're lacking motivation or you are removed from a sense of abundance, that's the best place to go look, because it shows you that there are no bounds, that there are no limits, because there's nothing obstructing the other side of that. All you see is a sea of blue. And I think it's one of the easiest things that we can do to help kind of reframe our mind around that. All right, and so I can't statements, turning them into I can statements. The next thing that I need you to do, if there's something that stops you from showing up and showing out, from creating the content that you need to create to move your business forward, from marketing, from selling, right? So raise your hand if you're a little apprehensive about selling your thing. That's okay. Everyone else is like, girl, I've got it. I'm just here to support you. I don't really need any of these gems you dropping. Okay. If you were ever, there's two things that I want you to think about. Well, really three things that I want you to think about that process, right? If you are afraid to sell, and I will admit there were times where I have been afraid to sell my thing. Sometimes that's trust. Like, do you trust that you have a really good product? Yes. You have a really great product. You have a really great service, right? So trust is one part of that. The other part of that is selling. If you trust that you have something that can benefit people, that you know in your heart can benefit someone, that their life will be changed as a result of you experiencing, buying your product or your service, and you do not sell it to them because you're stuck in here, you are actually doing a disservice to the exact people that you intend to support. The exact, yeah. The what? Midas touch. What's the Midas touch? I mean, I know like the tire is the Midas touch, but tell me. Huh? I believe that. Is there something more? Some people have it, some people don't. I think everyone has it if they're in their genius. I think everyone has it if they are selling and operating in their genius, because then you have alignment, right? And so like when you're in your genius, you produce genius level products and services. And then more than anything, it helps you better identify who your target market is, so that you're selling to people that are looking for your product and service. And so oftentimes we have friction, yes, because we can be better salespeople and have better offers, but sometimes it's like we're selling something to people that have no interest in buying what we're selling. Most times when people launch their businesses, we immediately go to our friends and family. They ain't your customer. I always tell people the story when my husband and I we ran a gourmet popsicle manufacturing company here for 7 years. We sold gourmet popsicles as black people. That's another story for another time. It's time to be alive. But my parents love butter pecan ice cream. They don't put anything else in the house but butter pecan ice cream. The only exception is cookies and cream when their 4, grandkids come to the house. I know this about my parents on a cellular level. Only butter pecan ice cream. And so if I get upset with them because they never bought a popsicle, y'all understand what I'm saying? They butter pecan people. Like, even if they bought popsicles, it would be superficial. They just buying it to buy it. That's not helpful to your business. And so we literally have to release our friends and family with the expectation of that they're supposed to be our customers. They're not, and it's not fair, and I hate when people say that. And so that's usually where people go. And you know what? It's the laziest thing that you can do in support of your business. Because what you really need to do is do a target market analysis to create the avatar of who your ideal customer is. And so when you do your Facebook ad spend, it actually lands in the people that are more than likely to buy. And when you put your graphics together and your website together, it needs to talk to the right person. When Derek and I worked for Nintendo, we launched the Wii Fit board. Y'all remember that, the Wii Fit board? The Wii Fit board was completely different than how, like the image of like the usual video game player. This is back in the day. This is like 15 years ago, right? And so the Wii Fit board, you had to actually move your body as opposed to like sitting and playing a video game, the pimple-faced kid eating pizza in like this dark room. Like that was kind of the image of a video game player. And so Nintendo was just like, that's not who is going to bring this new technology into the home. It was a $300 board that uses your weight in your body, so there was like a fitness movement component. And so who brings high-priced items into the home? There's a specific parent. The mom. Oftentimes, right? They're usually making the buying decision of like products and services that come into the home. Why are you acting up back there? All right, and so that's part of the target market, number one, right? It's the woman. But then it's a certain type of woman. And so they name that person the alpha mom, right? And so the alpha mom is a busy person that doesn't have time to go into the gym, meaning what? They need fitness at home, right? And the alpha mom, the way that Nintendo actually described it was she had a BlackBerry in one hand. This is how old it was, right? BlackBerry in one hand and a child in the other hand. It got that granular into who this person was as a target market. So yeah, did pimple-faced kids pick it up? Absolutely. But that wasn't the target market because that pimple-faced kid got to convince their mom to buy it. And so it still leaded back to the alpha mom. But now that you know it's a busy mom with a phone in one hand and a kid in the other, well then what does that person do on the weekends? What do they do? What do you think they do? Sleep is probably one, but kid activities are two. What else? Sports. What kind of car do you think this person drives? They ain't driving no like tiny whatever, right? They're probably driving a van or SUV. So now that you know that they drive a van or a SUV, now that you know on the weekends they're probably sleeping or doing kid activities, where do you do your marketing? Do you do your marketing at Club 11? No, they're not going to be there. Grocery stores, kids stores, maybe on the back of teen t-shirts, right? Like now you know how to spend your money because you know your target market. It is not your mom and your dad. It's not your grandmother, it's not your cousin. And I'm not saying that they could never be a customer, but let's not be lazy with our business. Like if you care about your business, you care about your customer. And if you have something of service to them, then it implores you to make sure that you are delivering and it's landing on the person that you're intending to help. All right, I got two more things to go through really quick. And so your I can't statement, the thing that shows up, the thing that gives you a little bit of a hesitation when you're getting ready to show up big and bold in what you're doing. There's a lot of reasons why those hesitations exist, but sometimes it's a person. Someone in our life that at somewhere along our life doubted us. They criticized us. They challenged our audacity to play big. That person could have been in your life in a completely different vein a long time ago, but they still kind of show up on your shoulder when you walk into that meeting, or when you get ready to send that email or that pitch, or when you get ready to go live. They still show up. And maybe for some of us, that person is still in our life right now, and we don't have the vocabulary to say what we need to say to them. But you can name that person right now. You don't have to name them. I'm not going to make y'all name them out loud. Write it down on whatever you're taking notes. Who is that person? Because you cannot move forward in your business if they keep showing up and you refuse to identify who they are. So who is that person or what is that thing? Write their name down. We're not going to look at it, I promise you. But if you want to scream their name out and we put it in a piece of paper and we burn it, we can do that too, right? Outside, so the team don't get upset when we're trying to burn the building down. So notice the name that believes squelching your soul. Who is that person? What is that thing? You have 30 seconds because you know the name.
And it could be yourself.
It could be yourself. Yes, but it's somebody external. It's always someone external. And then it becomes internal to us. It literally becomes like in our veins, in the fabric of who we are and why we stop and when we play small. But it's always something external. Always something external. All right, you got 15 more seconds on that. You gotta help me, Mike. Huh? We gotta skip around a little bit. They done gave me the 10-minute warning and I didn't even take you through the income blueprint yet. All right. Everyone wrote the name down? Put the list down. Put the list down. If it's more than one person, just write it down, right? So that you have it. What I want you to go home and do is go through a process of separation from that person so they never stay in your life again, right? And so there's a number of different practices that people use to do that. You could write their name on a piece of paper, ball that paper up, and set that paper on fire safely. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is you can have that very difficult conversation with that person and say, do you remember when you said this thing to me? Right? For me, it was my high school guidance counselor at 17 that told me I'd never make it to a college or a university because of my grades. I'm like, look at me now. Right? I dedicated my first book to that woman. I wrote a book called The C Student's Guide to Scholarships, and it's literally dedicated to her. That's how petty I was. Because if not for her, I would not have imparted this information on thousands of teachers and students and families, right? When I was teaching college prep stuff. I'd won $130,000 in scholarships as a C student. And she kind of lit that fire because I was like, I'm going to prove this woman wrong. And so that was one part, right? Another part in my life was my mom. My mom has more degrees than my entire family, right? And I had decided to leave college my last semester to pursue a business opportunity. I had just won a $20,000 grant for my college educational prep company, and I needed to focus on it full time. And I hate school. If y'all ain't realize that, C student college, I hate traditional school. I love learning. But I hated the traditional school system. And my mom said something to me because when I talked to my mom and my dad about, I'm going to leave for a semester. I got to focus on this business full time. I really feel like it can take off. I also thought I had just won the lottery with $20,000 to build this thing. And my mom said to me, maybe about a year later, that if you would have just finished college and just got married and had kids, I would have felt like you were successful if you did nothing else with your life. That's my mom, right? My mom has a PhD in organizational leadership, all the things. But she said that to me. And it stuck with me for 15 years. And what ended up happening is not that I stopped doing less, I started doing too much to try and constantly prove to her that what you said to me, I was gonna exceed all expectations. And so if you're not careful, sometimes you do the opposite, you don't do anything. And then the other time you end up doing too many things leads you to burnout and chaos because you're constantly trying to feel am I finally enough? And the crazy thing and why I want you to have that difficult conversation with that person, if that's the thing that will heal you in this moment, it might be therapy. That could be the third thing. Or it's just like, let me acknowledge who this thing is. And so every time it creeps up, I say, you know what, Jason, not today. Or whoever it is, or grandma, not today, right? And so I had the conversation with my mom. We were on a flight maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. And I'm like, Mom, you said this thing to me that I keep carrying with me in everything that I do, and it really hurt me because what I needed in that moment was like your full support that I knew what was best for me in that moment. You know, my mom's saying that to you. Because most time people will say things to you that you take and you internalize, they don't even remember. It was this passive thing, but it ended up being this massive thing for you. And so some of our business beliefs and our mindset or the limitation is not that we can't do the thing that we can do because y'all got the goods. It's the voices that we've let seep into our head, the criticisms that we've let seep into our head. And so more than anything today, I want you to tell a different story to yourself moving forward. I want you to name the thing and I want you to rewrite your beliefs. Y'all can commit to doing that? The last thing that I want to show you is, and can y'all tell me what time it is? Yeah. All right, cool. All right. I want to walk you through the Genius Income Blueprint. But in order to do that, I got to walk you through the 4 zones of genius. Has anyone familiar with the 4 zones of genius? Okay. So I don't need to go through that. I'm cool not going through that. Who does not know? So I know. Okay, cool. All right, and so when I talk about burnout, I've had burnout twice in my professional career, right? I do not wish it on anyone. But burnout comes from a lack of clarity and a lack of alignment. You could be doing all the things and publicly have like a measure of success that people are celebrating, and internally it's not aligned to you at all, and you're burning yourself out because a chaotic mind makes very poor choices or no choices at all. Both of them are detrimental, but the poor choices can be far worse than stagnation sometimes, right? And so I came across this book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I implore any and everyone to read it. This part, the genius quadrant, has literally been the most transformational thing that I took out the book, but that's not the best part of the book. The chapter, and I think it's chapter 3, on self-sabotage, whew, whew, whew. The Big Leap. And so I spent a year training under Gay Hendricks and Kathy Hendricks, the author and his wife who wrote the book, to become a certified Big Leap coach because I love it that much, but it's been the most transformational thing in my life because it gave me clarity. And so really quickly, right? And so there's the zone, y'all give me a working marker. There's the zone of incompetence. Say zone of incompetence. Okay. Zone of incompetence. Like this marker. Zone of incompetence are all the things that we do that we have no business doing. Those are tasks, those are responsibilities, those can be functions in our business. You have no business doing any of those things. You are the worst in the world at doing these things. You suck at doing these things. I know some of y'all are looking at me like, I don't suck at anything, Felecia. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And our educational system really screwed us up on this because the things that we were not good at as kids, find a tutor for him. Find an instructor. Put them in additional classes. No, that ain't your thing. And so what they told you and what they trained us to do is when you're not good at or you're inadequate at something, put all the force around trying to perfect that thing instead of feeding the thing that you were innately good at. And so it trained us to be dismissive and downgrade the thing that we're good at and put all of our force, our energy, our resources, our dollars, our attention towards perfecting things that we should not be doing because we suck at these things or we hate doing these things. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Of course. Are we teaching it today? I don't know. I don't know. I don't have I have an answer for that, but I am not sharing that today. But I am a spiritual person and all the things. I'm a granddaughter and great-granddaughter of a lot of preachers. But some things are by design, right? We always have to think about there are people and institutions that benefit from our ignorance. That never changes, right? And so are there amazing things that come out of our educational school system? Yes, I went to public school. But like, look at the battle that I had to fight. Look at the person whose job title was guidance counselor tell me I would never make it to a college or a university because of my grades, and community colleges got programs for everybody. How did she get the authority to say that to Black kids, right? And then the same thing with our religion, right? There's great things that you can take out of that. There are also things that we also know that there's a reason why Bibles are in the prison and other educational resources are not, because it's been used as a tool of control. So there is that reality and there's a duality to any and every resource. There's good out of things, and there are things that are used to control us. But more than anything, there are institutions that are literally put in place to keep us ignorant to what the possibilities are, right? It just is. And that's why, like, I've dedicated my life, Derek has dedicated, like, we need more good people to make more good money so that we can put more good out into the world. And when people talk about wealth, they don't ever give you the real clues. They don't ever give you the real resources. Any wealth creation class that first is not taught by somebody who's wealthy that's another story for another time. But the other part of that is if they're not teaching you how white communities leverage insurance to become wealthy, they're not teaching you the clues. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Because wealth is created through insurance. Wealth is also created through investments, literally turning a small of this and into something really big and really massive, like, and that iterative process of that happening. And so these things aren't, like, it's not just like this, what the Susie Orman, just save your way. You cannot save your way to wealth. You cannot. You can't turn $5 at what 0.5% interest rate into $1 million over your lifetime. It doesn't happen. It's the same thing with college, right? And I'm not, when my kids get to the age, they will have a choice. You'll either get money to start a business if you want to go to college, fine. It's not a requirement because it wasn't the best environment for me. But the one thing that college promised that most people never talk about, do y'all remember the commercials around, I know I'm all off track, but I'm gonna get back really quick. The commercials and the value proposition of college about maybe 15, 20 years ago, there was these commercials that talked about that a college graduate will make $1 million more over the course of their career. Did y'all ever break that $1 million down? So over the course of a career, say 20 years, at $50,000, that's $1 million. That is what most plumbers make without any of the debt. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And so how is that a valid value proposition to taking on $100,000 in debt that the government has literally put in place that when you die, it gets transferred over to your children? It never goes away in bankruptcy. That was by design, because they knew when affirmative action happened that there were going to be an onslaught of us going into college. And if we know better, we start doing much better. So how can we make sure that they can know better, but they will never do better? Keeping them grappled in debt. And that's why we started teaching the coding classes, because I started deductive reasoning. I was just like, okay, their kids are going to a 3 to 6 month boot camp. Y'all listen to this. They're going to a 3 to 6 month boot camp. They're going to learn advanced technology. They're going to enter the workforce within the next potential 6 months. Our kids are going to college for 4 years. And so by the time they graduate, they're getting into entry-level jobs, and they got $50,000 to $100,000, $200,000 in debt. Their kids entered the workforce 3.5 years earlier than your kid. with no debt or very little debt and have 3.5 years of work experience over your child that's going to graduate. That math doesn't math at all. And that's what's happening. Like, that's why we started teaching coding classes, because we're just like, you need to enter the workforce much faster. And it's not that you can't then go back and go to college. Now you can fund your own college degree and not have any of the debt. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? And so we have to realize, one, we have to become insatiable readers. Like Derek is finishing up his book on high output reading, because we have to be insatiable readers, but then we have to be insatiable about not only acquiring the knowledge, but then like applying the knowledge. And so we do a lot of things that we should not be doing. Let me get this back on track. All right, so zone of incompetence. Y'all gonna roll with me. All right, zone of competence, right? ZOC. That black marker is not working.
It's not.
All right. Zone of competence are all the things that you do that you know how to do. You have a level of competence doing it. Yes, you can do it, but should you be doing it? Absolutely not. It's not the best use of your time, your resources, your dollars, your energy, your people, your teams. It's not the best use of it. Yes, can you do it? Yes. But are you the best at it? No. And quite honestly, when you do that thing, can it get done? Yes. Is it of piss poor quality? Most time it is. But you can do it, right? Zone of competence. I call those things your zone of no return and your zone of low return. The next one is your zone of excellence. You are really good at doing these things. You have a level of what? Oh, y'all listen, y'all follow me. Level of excellence. Got it. Good. We on this. Yeah. I got it, Derek. I'm a roll. Purple? Okay. Purple. The color of royalty. All right, your zone of competence is you are actually really good at doing these things. You have a level of excellence doing them, right? People come to you and say, can you do this thing for me in only the way that you can? You say, yes, because it's my thing. This is also called your comfort zone. You are really comfortable here. You make really comfortable money here. You don't really have to rock the boat doing these things. You can live and die a pretty good life in your zone of excellence. But if there's usually like something kind of like an angst in your body that is just like, if I leave this earth today, my dash is finished. If I leave this earth today, did I leave it all on the court? Did I fully expend my gifts, my talents? And if you cannot say yes definitively, that's your zone of excellence, that's not your zone of genius. If there's still a little friction in the work that you do, it's your zone of excellence, it's not your zone of genius, right? Writing, for me, is in my zone of excellence. Can I do it? Yeah, I've written 5 books. I wrote 5 essays that got me 100,000. I can do it, but if you ask Felecia to write anything on deadline, it ain't happening. And I know for myself, I can only write when I'm really pissed off about something or super, super driven and excited about something. Anything in between, it ain't happening. And that's why I love ChatGPT, because, right? And so ChatGPT gets me through my zone of excellence, right? So I can produce, but it's not coming from me and I'm not standing in the way, right? And so your zone of genius is you definitively saying, I am the best in the world at what I do, in only the way that I do it. That doesn't take away from anyone else, also it being their zone of genius. But when you show up in the pocket of your genius, things happen. They happen fast. There's a sense of flow. But more than anything, for you, there is a sense of ease. And so most people struggle to own genius for a few specific reasons. The best geniuses, the best experts are also still the best students. They know that they do not know everything about their specific craft or talent or innate ability, but there's an insatiable desire to keep learning. That's why in the medical profession it's called what? A practice. And we regard them as kind of the highest levels of experts and people in our field. It's a practice. So genius is also a practice for you. But you have a desire to keep learning about that thing. We expect genius from everyone else around us, and oftentimes we don't expect it from ourselves. And that's also the problem, because the world is waiting for you to show up in your genius. Your genius is where you tap into the highest income potential for yourself, the highest revenue potential for yourself and your business, is when you operate in your genius. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? And so when I say genius, we expect genius from everyone else around us, but we oftentimes don't expect it from ourselves, is if you needed to go get brain surgery, God forbid, next week, and you go to meet with neurologists, and you meet with a neurologist, and he's just like, what time? Next Thursday? At what time? What time?
1 p.m.
At 1 p.m.? You know, I don't know how I made it through med school, but I'm here. Don't go on WebMD or Yelp. Don't look at the reviews. You don't need to do that, right? You look like you need somebody in your corner right now. So what you said next Thursday at 1 p.m., I'm going to be there for you. What does that sound like? That sounds, you're like, heck no, let me get away from here as fast as possible. You crazy person. How you made it through med school? Or if you go to meet someone, same thing, same conversation, 1 p.m. Thursday, and they're like, yeah, I can help you out. I've had a little bit of success doing this. You know, again, don't go look at all the reviews. Just look at the 5-star reviews. Don't look at the 1 or 2-star reviews. And you might need, I'm going to put you on some light anesthesia because I might need you to help me with the scalpel. But, we're going to get through with this. That sounds crazy, don't it? But that's how we sound when we say yes to things that are in our zone of incompetence and zone of confidence. You look like you need someone to say yes, so I'm going to say yes. Or I'm so used to saying yes to everybody but myself, so I'm going to say yes to these things. We sound as crazy as that neurologist that we don't even know how they graduated med school. This is how we sound. And that's what I mean when I say we expect genius from everyone around us but ourselves. But people are literally coming to you because you are the best at only what you do. So if you are, what does my mentor say? If you are the cheapest, no one expects you to be the best. And if you are the best, no one expects you to be the cheapest. And so when you are operating in your zone of genius, you are the best. And you get to command the best. But only if you're operating in your genius. If you are not doing stuff in your genius, you can't ask for the best. Because you are not operating, and people can feel it, smell it, and sense it. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down on this? None of us, if we needed cardiac surgery, go to a cardiologist and say, I need the cheapest cardiologist. Nobody says that. And the more expensive the cardiologist is, like, Lord have mercy, I'm coming out with a new heart, right? Because number psychology is a part of that, but then also the physiology of the person that's operating in their genius is different. They walk different, they talk different, and they're not pretending to be anybody else. They are themselves, but they fully understand who they are and the value that they bring into the marketplace, not their worth. Y'all, please, for the life of me, stop saying, I need to be paid what I'm worth. Lord have mercy, please stop. Say it again. Please stop saying, I need to be paid what I'm worth. There is nobody on this humanly earth, no matter who you pray to, that can put a price on your worth. That is why you're struggling. Because something in your body is just like, I don't know how to price my worth. No, you put a price on your value in the marketplace. The value that you put into the marketplace is what you put a price on. Your worth is the essence of who you are in your being. You can't put a price on that. And so we have to be very careful about the words that we say to ourselves, going back to the stories, because those things become our lives. Same thing when people say, I'm trying to get to the bag, or like, I'm trying to get my coins. You really want to be paid in coins? Is that what you want? And then you get the coins, and you're just like, this prayer didn't work. Well, you asked for coins, and so that's what you got. And if you say, I'm chasing the bag, is it a garbage bag? Is it a Payless bag? Is it an empty bag? Going back to being very specific. So I'm not chasing any bags unless it's very specific about the dollar amount that is in the bag. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So last part about this, and then let me close out. Once you understand what your genius is, your innate ability, your genius is not a job title. So if anyone wrote that down, your genius is not a job title. It is the essence of who you are. And sometimes when I take people through this exercise, they think that either their genius is a job title or picking your genius limits you. It actually opens you up like ever before. Because your genius shows up in the exact same way in everything that you do. And so that's how you get to do multiple things, because we're human beings and we're multifaceted people. We have lots of interests. But your genius shows up in the exact same thing in everything you do. And so people always ask me, like, Felecia, how do you do all this stuff? I don't. I do not do all the things. I am an outsourced queen. Whatever I can outsource, I am outsourcing it. Why? Because I need to stay in my genius. And this is a process of elimination. And so now this tells me that the things I wrote down in this box, they probably still need to get done in my business. They don't need to get done by me. The things that are in this probably still need to get done by my business or in my family life. It don't get done by me. The things that here probably don't need to happen at all. But if they do, what is it? They don't get done by me. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? So as much as it leads you to your genius, it's a process of elimination to tell you all the stuff that you don't need to be doing anymore. But furthermore, it helps you build a genius squad around you, because your zone of competence, the person that you hire to do those things, it should be their genius. Your zone of excellence, the stuff that you should not be doing here, it should be the person that, if it still needs to get done, it should be their genius. And so now you got a whole genius squad supporting you so that you always stay in the pocket of your genius. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down on that? The last part of that, and then I'll go to your question, is you have to give your genius a destination. So where Gay Hendricks goes through this horrible circle, zoo. All right, zone of opportunity. And so if y'all heard the Bible quote, right, like your gifts will make room for you, it's an incomplete quote. Exactly. Your gifts will make room for you, but you got to give your genius a destination. And so you got to know what you want to happen in your life and in your business as a result of your genius. Otherwise, it's just a nice thing to have. So you know what you're good at, but like, well, what happens as a result of that? So your zone of impact, your zone of activity, and then more than anything, your zone of income. How much money do you want to make as a result of your genius? What do you want to do in order to make that amount of money in your zone of genius? And then what's most important than anything, what kind of impact do you want to have as a result of your genius? And so you have to answer those questions, because it gives you an immense amount of clarity around this. And then how you monetize that is the Genius Income Blueprint. And so G stands for generate. Derek, let me know on time. Generate. We're out of time. Finish my sentence. All right. So when you're talking about how you monetize your zone of genius, right? G stands for generate. And so who here, business owners, just raise your hand really quick. Okay, good. All right. Raise your hand. Do you have a lead problem? Like people just don't know who you are, don't fully know the business, and so the phone and emails or orders are not coming in. Raise your hand. It's a safe space. I just need to know how to frame this because I'm out of time. She's staring at me. All right, so G stands for generate in the Genius Income Blueprint, right? So generate. Right? G stands for generate. And so most of you, some of you may have a generation problem, like lead generation. Like your product is good, your conversion is good. Once you just talk to the person, you get on the phone, you close the deal. You're good. But some of you don't know how, like people don't know how to find you. They can literally call the FBI, the CIA, the ATF, KGP, what are all the other ones, right? And they could not find you with their best technology and their best people. So you have a lead generation problem. And so if you change the amount of leads, right? So maybe you get one lead, maybe you get 10 leads coming in, and you have a $1,000 product, right? And you're good at closing the leads when they come in. You just need more leads so that you have more money in your business. And so you need to go from 10 leads to 20 leads because you have a 100% conversion rate, and you go from a $10,000 business a month to a $20,000 business a month by generating more leads. So how? Podcasting, speaking, partnerships, the P word, partnerships, affiliates, media, using free websites like Haro. These are all resources that can help you get more leads and more eyeballs. Because once you get the leads, you're good. So you might have a lead generation problem. People just don't know about your product. That's generate.